Welcome, everyone, back to the Podcast of Champions. I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online, the UCLA site on the 24/7 Sports Network.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, the USC site on the 24/7 Sports Network. And together we make the Podcast of Champions, talking all things Pac-12 football. This is really the Conference of Champions for real. Like, we are really the Podcast of Champions because Pac-12's undefeated, David.
For
Woods.
another reason, too, and I need to bring this up top. Ryan's bleeding right now.
I'm bleeding a little bit.
He's bleeding, but we are still bringing you this show.
Let me see.
Okay?
Yeah.
What are we?
Yeah,
Are we still
bleeding.
fresh? Yeah?
Still pretty freshy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shaved before I got over here. But
He
yeah.
shaves for me. Isn't that nice?
Just don't want to look good.
Yeah, that's right.
For Mr. Woods. You know, we're on camera. Podcast of Champions. Yeah, it was a big weekend, which was pretty amazing. But we have an exciting. So what we're doing this week, because there's just so many games, and we had some news, the Califord and the ACC and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to go over the games, especially the Colorado TCU game that took the nation by storm. And we're going to do all that today. It's on Monday. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Then we'll do later in the week. We'll figure out a time. We'll preview the next week's of games.
Probably Thursday.
Probably Thursday.
Probably.
That's probably what we'll do there. But yeah, we're the Podcast of Champions. If you want to email us, we do have a few questions, but if you have some later on from the week, Pac12podcast@gmail.com, or you can call or text us at 424-532-0678. Twitter is at Pac12 Podcast, and over on our website, Pac12podcast.com, we'll put up all the content. If you want to check there, especially for the Survivor Pool picks, if you want the link, Pac12podcast.com is where you can go all the time. We also have our power rankings and all of that. So all the information over there is on Pac12podcast.com, and then the Apple Podcasting app. You can follow us over there and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We love that. I don't know if we have any new ones, David.
We don't as of yet, but we did only record on Thursday, so I won't berate you all for being lazy. But I expect by Thursday's show, there's some new reviews in there. I'm counting on you, the listener. I'm looking at you. Do you see me? I'm not talking to like somebody else who's listening. I'm talking to you right now. I expect a 5-star review.
Which listener? Which specific listener? Is it Scott?
Jim. No, it's Jim.
Scott says Happy Labor Day.
Jim knows.
Okay.
Jim, make it happen.
Mark says, hello, Ryan and David. John says, Colorado is back. So we got some people in the chat.
Colorado never left, all right? Buff Stampede, world's biggest Colorado fan right here. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Been there from the beginning, 2016 being the beginning, and I'm still here, all right?
I'm
still here.
Yeah.
You know.
Even though they were one of the worst teams ever. I'm kind of one of the worst hosts ever, which for a lot of reasons. But so when we are, our buddy Andrew does these. Remember last week? I think the screenshot, like he just sends us the schedules. There was a pile of them that I came in, and I just took one off the pile, not realizing that there was a card inside too.
He wrote you a card?
He says, thank you both for your years of covering the Pac-12. Your show has made following the league more fun, even though your schools are the ones primarily responsible for the league's breakup, with my team, he's a Washington fan, being a very distant tie for third. It's not your fault, especially Dave's. Please tell all of your listeners that I would be honored to put one of these schedules, if you're watching on our YouTube, one of these in the mail for anybody who has loved this conference as much as I have. Andrew at PDAWG206, and his email is CFB Schedule Posters. So CFB Schedule Posters at gmail.com. He says, P.S. If SC doesn't win the league, that would be 1 for 13 in a 12-team league. That's worse. That's a worse ratio than if all 12 teams literally had taken turns. So, Andrew, thank you for the very nice card. It's got a seahorse on it, so that was very cool. If you're not watching on YouTube, sorry, I just wanted to read that for you. But super nice of him, and I totally not even saw it. And then I was like, putting things away, and I'm like, there's a card in here. Like, oh, okay.
That's very sweet. Very sweet from Andrew. So if you're interested in one of these, again, awesome schedule graphics, reach out.
Yeah, I love that. And we got a lot to get to today. But football is back. This was week 1, and man, was it a fun week. And it's got to be winning season for you over at MyBookie. NFL, college football, of course, the Pac-12 undefeated. And MyBookie has a brand new cash out system that gives you the best options to win and bet and win all year long. So make sure you go check it out over there at MyBookie. So if the first 2 legs of your parlay hit, I should have done this. You can cash out early and use the funds on another bet or let it ride to try for a bigger payday. Early cash outs are a tool that you can use to stay in control of the action over at MyBookie. So to get started, go to mybookie.ag right now. Then you go register for an account. That's free. And then when you're ready to make your first deposit, just use the promo code. This is ours, and it's going to stay this way no matter what happens. Pac-12. Yeah, the Pac-12 might be dying, but you can still use the promo code Pac-12. Grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's promo code Pac-12 to claim your deposit bonus, and for a limited time, a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only at MyBookie. And I had a nice week.
You had a pretty good week.
On MyBookie.
I made a mistake, which is I angered the gods yet again because I began talking shit too early. I was 3-0 at the beginning. 3-0 of my Pac-12 picks through Thursday night, right? And so I send out, so I send out a friendly little tweet,
super friendly, yeah,
Friday morning saying, "Wow, 3-0. Now to check how Ryan's doing." And you were 1-2 at that time,
yes,
having picked ASU and USC in the opener. After that point, I got murdered. I got 1, 2, 3 of the remaining games correct, and got destroyed on every other one. So that was pretty bad. We're right now. We're even. We're 6-5, 6-5 each.
Right.
Ryan had a better week 1 overall.
Yeah, I went 6-4. You went 5-5.
I really needed Coastal Carolina to do what it did. That was very.
That was a half-point game.
Yeah,
like,
I really
needed
it.
Like I had UCLA. Yeah,
the predicted margin I had on Bro's preview, exactly 14 points.
Okay,
so
there was you got lucky to only be like partially damaged from that week with that half game thing.
Got very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah.
And my big problem was underrating the Pac-12.
Yeah, if you look at overall the Pac-12, I mean, everybody won, right? And this is the first time, since 1980 that a Power 5 conference, or I think a conference, has been undefeated.
Not just everyone won. All but one team covered. The only team that didn't cover was UCLA.
No, Arizona State didn't cover either.
Oh, yeah, well, they don't matter. That was an FCS opponent.
Right. No, that kind of screwed me, too, because we didn't even have that on the board. And you put it on, and there was a haboob going on. Like,
there were a couple of boards where it had it, so no, dead right.
Yeah. So, but of the
haboob, by the way, very funny word.
It is a very funny word. I hope I said it right. Our picks were, we both took ASU, which was like, and I went to bed because there was like a 3-hour delay.
We did not both take ASU.
I thought you told me you took ASU.
No, I took Southern Utah. It's in the friggin' thing.
No, I'm talking about our survivor picks.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was just too busy focusing on the spreads.
Right. Yeah. So we took ASU. I know there were some people that were, they were trying to get in on time. Someone emailed us like, we don't control this. This is all Matthew, so you have to just put it in to his that pick sheet there. And we don't have results yet. We'll probably have results.
We do have results.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Did they send them in?
Yeah. 17 hours ago. There were 350. Well, it doesn't really matter. There were 356 entries, and 356 people survived week 1.
Everybody survived.
Yeah, because the Pac-12 survived. Nobody lost. So true. 139 people picked ASU, 84 picked Cal, 60 picked Arizona, 35 picked Stanford, 15 Washington State, and so on and so forth. 0 people picked Colorado. And now we go into week 2.
Nice. All right. Maybe we'll do our picks for that later in the week when we do our pick show.
Yeah. I can't guarantee we're going to do 2 separate shows every single week. We're doing it this week.
Maybe the first couple because there's so many games.
Yeah, we'll see what we can take care of scheduling-wise. But so today we're going to talk a little bit of news, and we're also going to talk about recapping the games, and then we'll get into previews and stuff at the other show on Thursday.
Yeah. So here's what I want to see. 356 people advanced. What I hate to see is like 14 people or 20 people didn't submit their picks. And I'm impressed that we had 356 people picking because we didn't put this out until like pretty late. So that's great. Kudos to all of you. But please, if you put your picks in, make sure you put them in again. We don't want you just to like go out, because if you miss a week, then you're out. We don't want you to be out. We want to see you guys all in there. Scott says haboobs are not fun to be in. Jokes aside. Well,
come on. None of the stuff's fun to be in, but we all joke about weather events.
That was really weird going on there. Okay. First up, we got to talk about some breaking news. David Woods. We didn't really use the term Califord, but that was one that was out there I kind of liked. I don't know, are you a fan of that or not really?
Stanifornia? Nobody like that?
I like Stanifornia better.
I kind of like Stankley.
Huh?
Stankley.
Oh. Cardare? Can we use like Cardinal Bear?
Burkford?
Bear.
Burkford? No, Burkford sounds like the friggin' investment capital firm that they would create together.
That's true.
Yeah.
Berkshire Hathaway or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. We only have like 20 billion in our fund so far, so we need to get some more of our billionaires to invest. Yeah. So that was sort of weird, but Cal Stanford going to the Atlantic Coast Conference. Some people are renaming the like all coast conferences or whatever, like different things you could say for Atlantic Coast, but SMU's coming in as well. The last I saw was 30% of revenue share. Like that, we talked about this last week. Why this would happen is because they come in, 3 schools come in at a full share. They only take a partial share, and then the rest of the money can go to the other schools.
But the way Cal phrased it is so funny.
What did they say?
We're coming in as a full share member, and then we are donating that money back to the league over the next 7 years to improve the stability of the conference. It's like, no. We are not a dog shit program that nobody values in any way. We are California. We're getting full shares, and then we're just graciously giving it back to the league because we don't need that money.
Well, Cal, the one with the
Yes.
worst. Well, one of the worst.
So a few thoughts.
Okay.
One, Stanford can do whatever the hell it wants. It's a private school with more money than God. Whatever. Do whatever you want. You're basically SMU. That's fine. Cal, there's so many different weird things going on here. Let's start with this. This is dumb as shit. For them,
Okay.
financially, probably it makes more sense to stay in the Mountain West. Like, say Cal and Stanford both agreed to go in the Mountain West, or even just Cal. Maybe that increases payouts per school a little bit. I doubt it, but they'll get $4 million a year, $5 million a year, something like that, right? But they don't have to do the travel. They don't have to do this insane travel that's going to add cost. And it's one thing if you're a $60 million school like UCLA and USC are now to add $10 million in travel cost.
Right.
It's another thing if that's the entirety of the media revenue you're getting anyway. And Carol Christ, what are we going with her last name? Do they go Christ to be polite, but it's actually spelled Christ?
I think it's Chris.
Yeah, but it's Christ. We know. We all know. Come on. Carol Christ, she was basically talking about this, but I don't really understand how they can justify this move and also think about putting Olympic sports where they're all playing all of their games in Dallas, which is one of the proposals on the table, where they would just have like a hub of games where they'll play those things.
So everybody goes to Dallas and then you play.
How does any of this work? Like, how does any of this make sense? I don't know. I think it's all very stupid. And then there's the other piece of it, which is Cal's still counting on getting money from UCLA, but the justifications become extremely thin if they're doing this, adding so many costs.
Why is UCLA donating to Cal if Cal's donating to the ACC?
Well, that's exactly. And their justification for how they did this, where they said, oh, we're donating that money back, that feels like very bad reasoning if they are still counting on money coming in from UCLA. I think they should have gone down a level, collected the $10 million from UCLA, and they'd be in a better fiscal position and in a better competitive position in the Mountain West than they ever will be in the ACC.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this is one of those situations where there's a bad idea going on, and the only way to fix it is to start executing it and then realizing how bad it is. And I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Olympic sports. That this is good. 2024 is going to be crazy. Football could be awesome, right? You could see all these cool games. It could be great stuff. And I think all the Olympic sports are going to be just not in a good spot. So Stanford is flying to Durham, and all, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on, right? And it's going to happen in the Big Ten. Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Like, it's going to be taxing on these sports. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of pushback on all, but it might take a year of athletic competition that just doesn't work very well to do this. And they're like, okay, we got to figure something else out. And then maybe we can go to some more of a regional thing. I don't know. But I feel like this is like everyone knows it's a bad idea going in, but you can't really do anything until you kind of experience the pain and then go, oh, crap, we got to do something else.
So I'd lost my train of thought a little bit on what I was saying with Carol Christ with joking about her last name. What I was going to say was her reasoning is also bone stupid because it's counting on a 7 to 12 year time horizon for Cal starting to get full payouts from the ACC. What dumbass is looking at the state of college athletics right now and saying anything about the structure of right now is going to look at all similar enough in 7 years to begin to getting paid off on this stupid deal?
Yeah.
You have to be looking at it as, what are we getting immediately and what are we getting in the next 2 to 3 years? Because that's the only time frame that matters right now.
Yeah.
And if it isn't a shitload of money, you cannot do this stupid stuff. UCLA, USC, and to a lesser extent the rest of the Pac schools that went to the Big 12 and the Big 10, they're all getting their greed payoff. Like, they're all getting enough money to make it worth it. Cal and Stanford aren't. Stanford, again, can do whatever the hell it wants. Cal can't. Like, this is really, really stupid for Cal. And it's just trying to still be a part of major college athletics when major college athletics has decided to pass Cal by.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think they're doing, I don't think they're servicing their student athletes, obviously. I'm calling them student athletes. I don't know why I'm doing that. They're athletes. They're not servicing their coaches. They're not servicing, I mean, not to get all like self-righteous, especially because my tongue is a little bit in cheek, but this is a worse fiscal decision for the University of California than what UCLA did, like by far. So I don't know how any of this is justified.
Yeah. We had a comment from Dave, Oregon State fan. Let's make this interesting. How many games will Califord lose next year in the ACC? Football only, please. I mean, we'd have to look at the schedule, but
I need to see more of Cal and Stanford this year because we're going to get to it in the game recaps, but they look like they have a pulse.
They actually look a little better. So
yeah, damn.
Maybe
so
they won't.
I don't know. We'll see. ACC is pretty bad.
And let's see. Thomas says, next college football contract is how long though? So the college football, playoff contract. So the playoff contract is only going through 2025. It's at 2026 and beyond, they have to write up something new. So it could be anything. They're just kind of extending what they've been doing or going along what they've been doing, but expanded it for 2024, 2025. ESPN still owns all that stuff. So what Fox and everyone else is going to want to try to get a part of it, and you probably are going to see for 2026 and beyond, similar to the NFL, where everybody has games, and it's not just ESPN dominating it. So that's all up in the open. Just that alone, like is David's point, the whole college football playoff landscape is going to change in 2 years. Like if you're talking about 7 to 10 years, we're getting a payout. Like, I mean, it might be a different looking sport. Like the ball could change by then. Like who the hell knows? But yeah. Jim says there's also a report out there that Oregon State and Wazoo are still trying to poach Mountain West schools. And the Mountain West commissioner, and I forget her name, she's fairly new, just started. She was speaking at, I think it was the Oregon State, it was during the Oregon State San Jose State game. And she was pretty she went to the Washington State game when they were at Colorado State, and then she was at the San Jose State Oregon State game. And, both teams that could be joining the Mountain West. She didn't say like, yeah, we're trying to get them to join. She was just very sort of like, politically correct about anything. Just like, we're looking at all options and stuff like that. But I think the problem is that the benefit that Oregon State, Washington State have is the entity of the Pac-12 still has more value. It would be better for teams to join that, maybe some sort of merger, and maybe she becomes the commissioner of that. I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work, but if Oregon State and Washington State leave, apparently all that money goes to all the the NCAA units would go to everybody else. Like whoever earned it would get back to it, or it would be split, something along those lines. But if they stay together, Oregon State and Washington State get to split all of that money just between them. So there's value in them staying in some sort of Pac-12 world, I guess.
Yeah, they've got a lot of financial things to figure out that will be, I think, it'll be beneficial to them, I think, at the end of the day to stay in a 2-team league for a year or two because they have a grace period, reportedly. And it's a bunch of money that they stand.
It's like $60 million or something, I think Wilmer was reporting.
They stand ready to collect. So I think from that standpoint, don't rush into a decision because you could make a lot of money just staying in a 2-team league for the grace period.
Yeah. Colt says over-under on 10 years before football becomes separate from the NCAA. I think I'm under.
I'll go under.
Yeah, that's
I think there's a chance the NCAA just fully blows up.
And then Kings fan says, would Stanfordia be subject to the ACC grant of rights? Are they stuck with this decision until 2036? Yes, they are.
In theory, yeah. I mean,
so that's how you get a full share coming in. Like you buy into this grant of rights thing.
Right.
My understanding is that. So you wouldn't be getting, I guess the contract says that if a team joins, then it's like $30 million more for that team, but they have to be part of that grant of rights thing. So they're stuck into this for a long time. It's funny, you see a really bad contract out there that everyone knows is a bad contract, and you're like, I'll jump in, I'll sign that. It's like, hey man, I have this timeshare. It's really awful. I have to pay money every year. I never go. You're like, I'll say, can I join? Can I sign me up too?
Right.
It feels like one of those things.
Yep.
All right. Well, why don't we do our
Pac-12 Roundup?
That means we get to talk about games. Was there anything else we needed to get to? Or
No, that was all the news.
I think that was all the newsy kind of stuff. Yeah, so we have our new, and it's basically just Dave's. I just went along with it. So if you don't like it, you can complain to him.
It seemed more or less right.
I think it's there. I mean, it's one game. Everybody won. So it's just sort of eyeball tests.
And even beyond what we thought preseason, a lot of teams looked good in winning. So it was actually very, very hard to rank these teams.
I think it's difficult. And, it'll shake itself out a little bit as we go. But we're going to go from 12 to 1 backwards and go over the game for each school. We'll tell you what the spread was, who picked what, and then what happened, and we'll give our thoughts. So first up, we got number 12.
Arizona State Sun Devils.
ASU beat the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, which I think I went with 24-21. As we said, there was a huge dust storm in the middle of this, also a lightning delay coinciding with the dust storm. So this one, I think it was delayed such that I don't think it ended till like 1 a.m., something like that, 1:30. It was super late.
I went to bed, so it was like
I did not watch the end of this until the next day.
And I got full disclosure. Like I texted David, I'm like, I'm not buying Pac-12 Network this year. I'm just not doing it. Like USC just played their second game on it, so they're not going to play anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to watch it.
So don't listen to Ryan on anything. Apparently, he's deciding to tell you now.
I'm not going to watch the Pac-12 Network. I'm not paying for a Sling this year.
What if USC is on the Pac-12 Network, which they will be?
They're already on it twice. They don't have to do it anymore.
So you're not. What the hell? I don't understand. I truly don't. Understand.
I go to all the games anyway. So unlike you, I actually go to the games that I cover.
Yeah, but you can't really watch it that well from the game.
No, I do the rewatch is I can't do the rewatch, which kind of sucks. But
anyway. Ryan's counted himself out here. So big thing I would say is before the haboob, Jaden Rashada, I think, looks like a guy who justified being a true freshman starter at quarterback for Denny Killingham. Threw a beautiful deep ball. Looked good. I would say you can't really take all that much from this game because of the big delay and dust storm and the whole thing. They were really sloppy after they came back from that.
Yeah, they scored 3 points after halftime.
So I wouldn't take a whole lot from the actual final score, except to say this is a work in progress team. They've got the demotivation factor from not being bowl eligible. They won't be able to go to a bowl no matter what their record is. So that's a factor. There's also just a lot of pieces trying to figure things out. I think they're going to be the worst team in the Pac-12 this year, but they're a worse team with hope. Like, I think, they've got a really good quarterback who's going to develop. I liked Scatabo, the running back transfer they have. Carlos Brooks is fine. But, again, not a whole lot you can take from this. I think defensively they're still pretty bad. And beyond that, it's an FCS game. there's so little you can take from it. You're treating it a lot of times, even if you're not a very good team, as a live practice.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see ASU as we go forward here. I mean, they've got Oklahoma State this weekend. I don't think that's going to be a great test. I think that's going to probably be a little bit ugly. And then Fresno State the week after that's probably not going to be great either. But, they could maybe start to be competitive in October sometime. But I think it's going to be a rough start to the season.
So this was a late, because of FCS school, we had this at a 31-point spread. I got it wrong. Dave took Southern Utah on this one. Obviously a 3-point deal. When you have this crazy storm that delays the game for hours and hours, I mean, that just everything, and it was a 14-point game. So ASU had, was up comfortably and then wasn't able to put anything together when it came back. I think a lot of up and down the Pac-12 schedule you could look at, like you mentioned, like the motivation factor of what, are people like, hey, we're left behind. Is Oregon State going to play well? Or Washington State going to play well? ASU, we can't go to a bowl game. Are you going to play well? I think there's sort of a combination. I wouldn't be too down on Arizona State yet. I think it's fair to have them at 12 where Dave has them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they play well, like say they play well against Oklahoma State, and you're like, okay, they're not the 12th team. Like they're better than that. But it's concerning from that first week. Like you want to see being able to push people around, and from some of the highlights and stuff I saw, like they weren't really pushing an FCS school around there. So like you said, could be glorified practice. I won't buy too much into that this is the worst team in the Pac-12, but the potential's there. They had the worst performance in the Pac-12 since everybody won. So I think putting them at 12 is fair.
Yeah.
All right. Our number 11 team.
Stanford Cardinal.
And this is the point where we get into teams that looked good enough in week one that I really don't have any idea where to rank them. And so I think ASU is a specific kind of, okay, they're pretty bad, where it's like they would have been in the bottom 4 last year. Like they wouldn't have been very good. I still think they would have been like 9th, not 11th or 12th. Stanford, comparable to the middle of the league last year, honestly. Like they don't look like a bad team. They look like a team that has some danger to it, has a little bit of juice. So they went to Hawaii. They beat Hawaii 37-24. But really, they had control of this one pretty much the entire way.
Yeah.
And I thought the immediate things that jump out is, first, they're running tempo, a lot of it. And that was just like, whoa, completely disconcerting seeing Stanford running tempo. Ashton Daniels, I think if they continue to run him the way they did in the first half, he's not going to make it through a season. But he's a talent. I mean, he had a pretty accurate deep ball, and he can move. So I think
it's kind of surprised that he started too. But
yeah. But he looks like the guy who should be starting.
Yeah,
and then I thought Casey Filkins took over a little bit in the second half, had a couple of nice runs. But just generally speaking, they looked like they had a plan offensively. They still had some of the red zone issues that we've come to expect from Stanford in the past, but they were not the same. It was just they had issues punching it in. And so they had a couple of field goals within the 10, but otherwise this would have been a bigger blowout.
Yeah.
Like they were driving a lot constantly. And then defensively, they gave up some big passing plays later in the game, but early on they were fine. It's not look, I don't think depth is good, but still, they've got some talent. I mean, they've got talent at receiver. I think they've got a decent enough quarterback. And then defensively, I think they've got enough nice pieces that, look, the league's going to be really tough this year, so they're going to be in the bottom half of it. But they're bottom half dangerous. Bottom half, they can beat some teams.
I would agree with you. It looks like, you have a good coach that took over a team that had a stale message for years and nothing changed. And you just needed that shot in the arm. And it looked like the Stanford Cardinal team got it. Now, I think they're going to have problems, and I think a bunch of the teams that won on Saturday for the Pac-12 will, but I think it's a really good sign to come out and get a road win like that. I mean, the Pac-12 put themselves in some bad spots all weekend with road games that you shouldn't even be playing.
And then took care of business.
And Troy Taylor did. He looks like, this is a competent team. Just watching like when, guys got lined up okay, or they executed the punt right. They did
just very simple. Hawaii had 16 carries for -5 yards. That's run defense. Like,
and
that's
pretty good pass defense too, I thought.
But like it's that's competent coaching up front on defense. Like you're fitting your gaps. You're not freelancing. You're not doing stupid crap. And we've gotten used to really bad Stanford defenses that just were not sound at all in recent years. And to see that, even in a game against a really under-talented team, and I did not read about Hawaii at all before this game, and if I had, I would probably not have taken them to win. They're in like year 2 of year 0. Like, it's bad roster. But even still, holding anybody to -5 yards is impressive.
Even if you do that in practice.
And Ben Urosek is the latest in a long line of Stanford tight ends I don't want to look at anymore.
Oh, yeah. He looks pretty good. 3.5 point favorite for the Cardinals. So I took Stanford, got that one right. Dave was hating on the Bay Area schools.
I was. I took him to lose outright.
Yes.
Stanford.
And I told you that this was a shorter trip for Stanford than it was for Hawaii because they were coming from Nashville the week before. So that's a long trip.
But they weren't flying in on Friday.
Just saying. So Stanford, big win, good win for the Cardinal. Troy Taylor getting his career started. On the right foot, our number 10 team.
Arizona Wildcats.
This is so Arizona beat Northern Arizona 38-3. This is sort of just kind of punishing them for playing in FCS. We didn't get enough information. No. I thought Arizona looked sloppy early. They only had, I think it was, they had 4 first half drives, which is kind of a common tale with the clock rules in college football. Turned it over on downs, had a fumble. I think one of their scores was a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown. So they were sloppy. They were kind of a mess. But 2 years ago, they lost to Northern Arizona. This year, they held them to 3 points. Northern Arizona ran the ball 41 times for 78 yards. And Kai Milner was a D1 quarterback. He was at Cal very recently. So you're facing a pretty good talent at quarterback. One of their receivers, can't remember the name, actually looked like he had some ability. It might have been Coleman Owen, who had 5 receptions for 90 yards. He looked like a FBS.
He was kind of like the only offense.
Yeah, exactly. But you held a FCS opponent to 3, and you looked a little disappointing doing it. But think about, if you're an Arizona fan, think about how far you've come now.
Yes.
Where
not losing.
You beat a team by 35 at home, and you're like, was that really that good? So I think, on one hand, you can be a little bit disappointed with some of the slop, first game, and it's against an uninspiring opponent. But on the other hand, you won by 5 touchdowns. Stop complaining. Yeah,
if you're the team's trying to run 41 times and you're getting like less than 2 yards a carry or something, like that's pretty good. And obviously, this is something Northern Arizona wanted to do. Arizona could stop it. I think we'll see a lot more, and this could be more of the glorified scrimmage world of what's going on, but just sort of get your feet wet and then move on to better competition. So, Arizona could be much higher than 10. There was no line on this one because it's FCS school. But, yes, I think the reason you have them here is just because you don't know as much about them, and we know more about other teams than we do about Arizona just because they played a pretty bad team.
Yeah, exactly.
I would go with that. Okay, our number 9 team is
UCLA Bruins.
Yeah, so UCLA is dropping from our preseason power rankings mostly because I would say here's what I would say about the Coastal game. So UCLA won 27-13. Watching the rest of the Pac-12 this weekend, I would say 10 of the Pac-12 teams would have scored at least 35 points against Coastal.
Yeah.
UCLA only managed 27. I think the offense is going to have some issues until a decision is made at quarterback until the decision is made at quarterback to go with freshman Dante Moore. If you watched the game,
he looked a lot better.
Yeah, Ethan Garbers came in, and his first series, he moved him downfield fine, threw a touchdown pass, looked okay. Then his second series was going fine. He throws a pick in the end zone. From that pick on, so before that, I had him at 7 of 10 for 102 yards. From that point on, he was 3 of 7 for 19 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Lost, and if you were watching the game, just like looking at his eyes, looking at his body language, he just looked like he'd lost.
The confidence was
100% of his confidence. Yeah. Was missing throws. J. Michael Sturdivant, their big time receiver, he was like throwing up his hands because Garbers was missing him so bad. It wasn't good. Then Dante Moore comes in for his first series, and his first series was kind of those nuanced things that you watch for. But he was doing scramble drill stuff that I'm not going to say it didn't look at all like Caleb Williams, but it looked like a vet quarterback, moving around in a pocket, buying time with his legs for a receiver to get open, and then connecting on a scramble drill with J. Michael Sturdivant. Didn't look like a true freshman. Then he goes through his full progression to get it to Carson Steele, the running back out of the backfield for the touchdown. But then his second series was kind of the use case for Dante Moore that I was making a couple weeks ago on the broadcast for why you would take him over Ethan Garbers. He drops back on his first play on his second series, which didn't come until the fourth quarter. J-Mike beats his corner off the snap, running a deep post, and Dante throws it. And to describe it as a perfect pass honestly doesn't even do it justice. It was the best touch I've seen from a UCLA quarterback throwing a deep ball probably in my lifetime. But it hit J-Mike just perfectly in the hands, perfectly in stride, such that he didn't have to break stride at all. And the cornerback was still kind of with him at that point. If he'd had to slow down at all, he would have been tackled. But instead it was a 62-yard touchdown.
That was pretty. That was really pretty.
For me, it's over. For me, the competition is done. You go with the freshman and you go forward. There's other concerns. There's locker room stuff. There's Ethan Garbers is well liked on the team. He's been on the team for a while. But I think everyone, including guys on the team, could see what we all saw in that game. So anyway, that was the main issue offensively, is that they probably played Ethan Garbers too much. And if they played Dante Moore the whole game, they probably scored the 35+ and we're not, kvetching about this as much. A couple other small notes. I won't go into the whole deep thing, but running back, I think they made the wrong choice. Carson Steele is fine. TJ Harden's much better. They put Carson Steele more. J. Mike is the best receiver UCLA's had in at least 25 years.
Where did he come from?
Cal.
Oh, yeah, it was Cal.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Cal, where he caught 60 balls for 765 yards because that offense was terrible.
Yeah.
He's going to be a 1,200 receiving yard guy this year at least. And then defensively, I thought they were improved. I thought the front seven was really good. They had a bunch of offsides calls, 6 of them in the game, but they got a lot of pressure. And so I take it as you're going to have some offsides calls when you're trying to pin your ears back.
That was a lot of offside
It was a
calls.
lot. They should be at 2 or 3, but they were at 6. But they got 10 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Secondary's bad. I mean, the corners are really, really rough, and they don't have a lot of options. So that's bit of a concern heading into Pac-12 play in a couple of weeks.
This was weird because you're watching the game. The Chanticleers looked like they should have been scoring a lot more points. They were moving the ball, and you're just like, what's going on? But, I think UCLA's defense came up with the big sort of negative plays that would help thwart drives. They got some – this was a offense that didn't turn the ball over a lot. How many interceptions did UCLA have? It was 3 or 2. 2? Yeah. He had 2 of all last year.
Coastal Carolina – that quarterback had 8 in his career.
Yeah,
heading into that game.
So 2 total, but it just seemed like UCLA was sort of hanging on for dear life, and then had a real chance to sort of put things away. Dante Moore threw that pick in the end zone. I think Chip Kelly was not happy about. He had a funny comment about because they only had 4 drives, I think, in the first half, and he's like, "Hope you're making a lot of money on those commercials or something like that."
Okay, side note about that.
That was kind of funny.
I started asking Chip about the new clock rules a year ago. He's aware of the new clock rules, and there were lots of studies about the clock rules and what it would happen. If you were reading any of the articles about the statistical analysis, everyone was saying you're going to lose about 5 to 10% of plays. You're going to lose about 5 to 10% of drives. You got to build that into your calculations. To act like it's a huge surprise that you only got 4 drives in the first half, and to not have prepared for that idea. We saw so many teams this weekend go super high tempo. We saw Stanford do it. We saw TCU and Colorado both do it, which resulted in a game that looked not unlike a lot of games we've seen in the past. But you have to adjust to it if you want to still run, 70 plays, 75 plays, you do have to adjust. Are you going to run higher tempo?
Yeah.
Okay. And if not, are you going to run a more high risk, high reward defensive style that gets your defense off the field more so you can run more plays? But you don't just get to like whine about it after the fact. I mean, this has been known for a long time. So I thought that was like funny, but also, was this a surprise?
Yeah.
Was it really?
It shouldn't be shocking.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
It's sort of a protest of the.
Yeah, the rule change. If you wanted to say, "Hey, I think this rule change is stupid," but like the way he presented it, as if it was like,
I didn't realize.
It's like that's not a great look.
No. So I would say, and he also said, I think he was sort of defending. He was trying, like he was asked about Dante Moore, and he kind of went back to. He said, that interception, he was pressured or whatever. But then he said the same thing about Garbers, like his 2 picks, there was pressure on.
Not the first one. So the first one was definitely a Garbers fault. The other 2, yes, both quarterbacks were feeling a lot of heat. When he was talking about the Dante Moore one, he deflected and took the blame on himself and said that was a really bad miss by the play caller. I'm going to have a word with him. He, of course, is the play caller.
Yeah, he's the play caller. Yeah, but it sounds like he doesn't want to make a decision, is what I'm getting.
I think so,
or doesn't want to announce one or whatever.
Talking today, he was available today for media. My read on it. This is my guess. It's not based on information. Just kind of. The way he set up Garbers to start was he didn't say that's my starter, that's my quarterback. He said he's going to take the first snaps.
Okay.
Because he's got the most experience. I think where it's open now is, well, he can start Dante Moore on Saturday and say, well, no, this was always the plan. We were going to alternate these guys. We're going to start him, and then Garbers is going to play.
Isn't there a third guy, too, that was supposed to get snaps?
Actually, but he's going to be a situational guy. He's like a runner.
Okay.
But whatever. Those 2 guys are the main competition, Moore and Garbers. So I think my guess for what happens this weekend is Moore starts, Garbers still gets time.
Okay.
And I think you can kick that can down the road one more week doing that. But if Moore goes out there and shows out to the same extent and Garbers has some of the same issues, I don't think you can kick it another week after that. I think you've got to name a starter for NC Central. Beat up on the FCS school, get some live practice, full reps for the starting quarterback, and then have him ready for, being the guy for Utah.
Yeah. I can't believe that UCLA almost covered this because I don't think they had any business being that close. They kicked like 2 field goals late to make it a 14-point game, and it was a 14.5 point spread. So David got it right. I had UCLA minus 14.5. Got that wrong. It came down to that Dante Williams pick in the end zone otherwise. But the fact that it was a half point, it was pretty weird.
Bizarre game.
It was very bizarre. Okay, our number 8 team.
California Golden Bears.
And this is the point where it like really does get weird and wonky because, I mean, if you were being like completely fair-minded, I think any of the next 5 teams could be in any order that you wanted.
I agree. Yeah,
it's just kind of. Here's the main takeaway. I predicted North Texas to beat Cal, and instead, Cal beat the shit out of North Texas. Like, they were favored by 6.5. They won by 37 points, 58-21. Good God. From the jump, Cal's offense just looks like an entirely different beast. Jake Spavital, aside from Deion Sanders, maybe the best offseason hire in the entire league.
Seems like it.
Just freaky. Here's the main thing. They lost their starting quarterback in like the first quarter. And then, like, what is a Ben Finley? Ben Finley comes in, throws for 280 yards, throws a pick. But honestly, he should have thrown for more touchdowns. He looked great out there. And then they also ran the ball like gods. Jaden Ott, 2 touchdowns. Had a beautiful 66-yard.
He had like 160-something yards in the first half.
Yeah,
it was like, what?
Blew through and straight past the entire defense. Defensively, I mean, after the first half, they were lights out, literally. It was a shutout in the second half for Cal's defense. This was, once again, rush defense, 27 carries for 41 yards for North Texas. Again, another team with a very considerable pulse, where it's like, okay, anybody who was counting Cal as a gimme win probably think different thoughts now, because that's a team that has some real danger to it. Jeremiah Hunter's a really good receiver. Monroe Young made a bunch of nice catches in this one. Yeah, I am sold on that offense. I think at the very worst, Cal is going to get like the fun parts of the Sonny Dykes years this year, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, you got this one like way, way, way wrong.
Super
Like this
wrong.
should be like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I should
for.
actually take 4 losses for that one.
I took Cal. I told you, talked to my buddy who's a staffer over there, and he was pretty confident. He's like, yeah, we're going to beat – if we don't beat this team, it's going to be a problem. They did bring – they lost a lot. We talked to Jackson Moore, but they brought in a good transfer class too. They brought in some good guys. And you mentioned – I forget the quarterback's name. Was it Jackson? Like it was a really athletic quarterback. I didn't get to start watching this till the second quarter, and he wasn't in. So he got hurt early on in the first quarter, and the offense was still very effective. And there was I think when the game was still sort of in doubt, and I believe it was like a 4th and 2 play from like the 25, and just boom, rolling people over, running in for a touchdown. And it just seemed like Cal could get what they wanted. They were playing a team that, like a directional type of school, and they just ran over them. To score 50 points, first time they've done that since Sonny Dykes was the head coach there back in 2016. So that's pretty impressive that they were able to pull that off. I did a bunch of did well on my MyBookie bets, but the one that I took it under for the Cal game. I took Cal to win and cover, but I took the under. I thought there wouldn't be that high scoring game, and they blew the over away just on their own. They scored a ton of points. And, putting up a 50 burger from Cal on the road, I mean, none of us would have expected that. But, they look like a team that's not – when we did our picks preseason, like I just thought there was going to be some doormat type of teams and really good teams at the top, which would have made a great year for the Pac-12, right? It would have been really exciting to have 6 ranked teams battling it out. This will probably be more exciting that you have –
a lot of upset opportunities.
there's real upset opportunities. Like a lot of people, I think, could lose to Cal.
A lot of
which I didn't think would be the case.
And we're at number 8, guys. Like this is a devastating league this year. Hey, shout out to Fred Hill. Threw us $10 in the chat, in the super chat.
Let me put it up there.
Yeah, how about Colorado? Well, we're getting to Colorado. Colorado's a little bit higher.
Hey, we're at number 8. We haven't talked about Colorado yet.
Yeah, think about that, guys.
Think about the team that was losing by 30 last year in every single game and only beat Cal.
Amazing.
We've already talked about. Thank you. That's an awesome super chat. So thank you so much for doing that. So yeah, I got that one right. Doofus next to me did not.
Doofus.
All right. Next up, we have our number 7 team.
Washington State Cougars.
In fairness, these two I could have flipped. I could have put Cal where Washington State is and put Washington State where Cal is. It's just they felt like very similar things. Offense significantly improved from a year ago and beat up on a group of 5 school on the road. And Washington State, I think it was just because my estimation of them was higher preseason, so I didn't feel like punishing them relative to Cal. But so Cam Ward, I thought, had some of the same issues, but the positives far outweighed the negatives in this one. Like, there was still, a couple of sacks, and there was still kind of, taking a negative play. But 3 touchdowns, 49, and this is probably the main one for me, 49 attempts for 451 yards. That is the ratio of a really good quarterback. Not taking a bunch of dump-offs, not taking a bunch of checkdowns, but hitting big throws, making big things happen in the receiving game. And also, he ran the ball really well. He accounted for 4 touchdowns himself. And then defensively, it was late in the game when this at all became, a respectable score. They finished 50-24, but 21 of those points were allowed in the fourth quarter. This game was over.
Yes.
When they were allowing these kind of big chunk plays. They abused Clay Millen in this game, Colorado State's quarterback. And kind of a theme, really shut down the running game. Again, 20
good run defenses across the board.
20 carries for Colorado State, 37 yards. Again, Washington State, it's another team where it's like, well, if they actually figured out their offensive issues and Cam Ward did make a big leap in performance from last year, Washington State is suddenly dangerous. Washington State's dangerous in a way that, last year I would have described them as pretty boring. A decent enough defense, pretty mediocre offense. If the offense has taken a leap and the defense is still pretty decent, then again, that's a dangerous team. That's a dangerous team to play in Pullman, but it's also a team that can score some road upsets.
I thought they could be like a 6-7, in the middle that could beat almost anyone above them, but potentially lose to people below them. And I feel like what I saw, and I don't know if you noticed this, David, but the Cameron Ward at the quarterback spot, like threw the ball that didn't go to the line of scrimmage all the time.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that way or that way. It was more that way.
Yeah, there was some of that, which if you watched them against Fresno State last year in the bowl game and you still are pissed off about it, like I was, you would take Colorado State and the points. How did we get? We got like 11 points there. Yeah, we were both wrong. We both took Colorado State and the points there. Washington State, very competent, on the road. Looked like they put it all together. I think when you watch like a Georgia like dominate somebody, I'm not saying that, I'm not comparing the two, but like there's like hallmarks, and I think you pointed it out. Like, all right, so you're like Ole Miss, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try to run the ball against Georgia, and it just gets shut down. I'm like, okay, well, 3rd and 9, I'm trying to throw a pass, and it's just really hard to do stuff with it. When you shut down the run, I know it's old school football, but you're really kind of like strangling. Now, you might have an opponent just can throw the ball all over the place, but if you're shutting down the run, then it makes it. And we've just seen so many Pac-12 teams this weekend do that. It's a hallmark of I'm dominating this game, and Washington State dominated this game. Maybe it was a audition with the Mountain West. To have Washington State playing a Mountain West school, Oregon State playing a Mountain West school.
And beat the hell and beat the absolute hell out of both of them.
And maybe those schools are questioning, like, do we really want these teams in our league? Like, do we want to do this? Because
it's the Rorschach and the Watchmen. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Yeah. ZZ Utopia says Cam Ward wants to make me rip my hair out.
Yeah, he still does do some frustrating things. I'm not going to say those are completely gone. He's obviously better.
I just didn't want to see like every single pass go to the line of scrimmage. It was unbelievable.
This next one I think is honestly controversial because they probably could and should be higher.
West Texas Mike says Monday, September 4th, 2023, when talking about Wazoo, Ryan likened them to Georgia. No,
that is Pac-12, baby. That is the Yogi Roth influence on Ryan Abraham.
That is not a direct correlation. Like, it's just, what does Georgia do when they dominate?
Ryan Yogi Roth Abraham.
Yes,
right here.
The huge honk. I did pick a lot of Pac-12 teams. This was a good week for me to go back the pack on my picks.
Yeah, it was.
It was a very good week for that. Okay, you know who we still haven't talked about yet? We're already the top half. Like the perennial bottom dweller for the last decade or more.
And honest to God, they should be higher.
We could have. I was surprised you put them here, but number 6 is
Colorado Buffaloes.
I'm going to put up Fred Hill's comment again since he wanted to. Well, how about Colorado? Right now, Colorado.
In fairness, this is stupid. Like, I think the problem is a lot of teams looked good in week 1, and I am still kind of waiting on Colorado just a little bit. I do believe, though, Coach Prime. I do believe.
He's got receipts.
Colorado beat TCU 45-42. It was a fun as hell game. Like, the whole way through, just super, super fun. Colorado looks awesome. Main thing, starting at a high level, got big 2012 UCLA vibes from Colorado. Very similar, like, change of culture, guys playing with their hair on fire, motivation out the ass. What I was impressed by was just how ready this team was for this game. You could see it literally from the opening kickoff. The way they covered the opening kick was just flying down the field, like fly tackling at the guy. Throughout the game, every defensive series, and this defense, I mean, they allowed 42 points. It's not like it's great, but gang tackling, swarm tackling, guys just pursuing the play from way on the backside. The energy level defensively was just so impressive. And I know they're not deep, and I know that could get them worn out over time, but the motivation of this team from the coaches, that's an A+. A++. Offensive scheme, Sean Lewis is a guy. He's a dude. The Kent State head coach that they hired, offensive coordinator, just a really, really well schemed offense. And that's just talking about like just kind of generics. When you get into the actual players, Shedeur Sanders is already a top 4 quarterback in this league. I think it's some combination of Penix, Nix, Caleb Williams, and Shedeur Sanders, probably 4th. He's really, really good. Very, very accurate. Every single ball he threw felt like it went exactly where it needed to go, hit his receiver in the hands, hit him in stride, hit him with room to run. He was really, really good. He threw for 510 yards on 47 throws, 4 touchdowns. And then probably the big headline is Travis Hunter, who played both ways, played like an insane number of snaps, something over 100.
I think it was 120.
129 is what Dion said. I don't know if that's right.
And I think Pro Football Focus had him at 144 or something.
That's insane.
I don't know, like, so Shotgun Spratling does the tracking of all this stuff for, like, he counts all the plays. Pro Football Focus, they count, like, penalty plays and stuff, so there's probably a little bit of inflation. He was looking at, like, a Dory Jackson, like, a couple of times went over 100. Back in the day, like, Damian Mama do some special teams. He had over 100. Like, to get over 100 plays in a game is, like, super rare. And I think Miles Jack, he did it a couple times at UCLA.
Yeah.
To have like 100 over 130 is at least.
But the thing
insane.
is, it's not just 130. It's 130 while being your team's best corner and best receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he caught. It's not like he's moonlighting and playing a couple of plays at receiver. He caught 11 balls. He was targeted way more than that for almost 120 yards. And there were a couple of deep bombs.
He dropped
a deep bomb, and then there was another one that was just a little bit long on him.
Yeah.
He could have gone for well over 200 yards in this game and a couple of touchdowns. Freak. And then at corner, I mean, I thought he started a little slow, actually. But as the game wore on, like they should definitely have stopped throwing to him. I mean, he had a pick, and he was starting to abuse the receivers he was matched up against. He was really good. Dylan Edwards at running back was really good. I liked him a lot. He got a little dinged up early. I don't know what to think about Anthony Hankerson.
He's going to be like the freshman of the week, I think, for the Pac-12, right?
Yeah,
he's a freshman, I believe, right?
Yes. So he was really good. And then defensively, again, just the gang tackling was what stood out to me. But winning this 45-42, real statement. I have no idea how good TCU is, but I don't think they're dropping down to like an under 500 team. I think they're still a quality opponent. And you beat a quality opponent on the road in your first game by 3 points with a completely revamped roster. Colorado's going to be good this year. How good is anyone's guess, but because this Pac-12 is going to be tough. But I look at that and I say they're probably a bowl team at minimum now.
So Dion's a polarizing figure. I definitely don't like that there's people that just don't like him because he's different or whatever. You like college football. Like, we're here because we love college football. Dave mentioned the opening kickoff. When you watched this team come in against a team that is obviously well coached, that went to the national championship game last year, that beat Michigan in the playoff for the first time really a little guy's won a playoff game. Yeah, they lost a bunch of pieces, but you're a well-coached team if you could do what TCU did last year in year one, right, of a new coaching regime. And Colorado by far looked like the better coach team. Deion Sanders, his staff had those guys ready. And the roster looked better than I thought. Like, I picked, like, David was trolling me saying I picked this team to go 2-10. Yeah, that's going to happen. Like, I think this is going to be a bowl team now. You're not overreacting to things going on here, but I thought this was what Colorado would look like next year maybe, where they're just like, hey, they can really beat some people. It's just going to take a little while. It's not. And, he's told everybody this. We come in, I'm checking receipts. Do I like what he's doing, like calling out reporters and stuff? Not really, but whatever. I mean, he's going to do his own thing. I'd like to put more of the emphasis on the kids than him, but you cannot argue that this is a well-coached team, that the players were ready, that the roster might not be deep, but there's enough playmakers there that you can do something like this and win an exciting game. This was huge for college football, huge for the Pac-12. It was great to see what was going on. Shedeur Sanders, did you know he was going to be a 500-yard, passer against a Power 5 team on the road? No, but he was. And Travis Hunter, he's amazing. Didn't know he could be that amazing, and I don't know if he can keep it up. Like, no one's done that, especially Colorado's playing at altitude, right? So can he do that 140 snaps or something in Boulder? I don't know, but I'm not going to say you can't. I feel like, when we talked to Adam Munster-Tiger and he thought this team was 6-6, his big caveat was if Shedeur Sanders goes down, they don't have anybody behind him. So I think if Travis Hunter gets hurt or Shedeur Sanders gets hurt, I think there's a few people on this team that if they get hurt, the whole season could be disrupted. But they look way more competent than I thought. This was a fun game. This is awesome for college football. And it shows that Deion Sanders is not just a guy that can get talent. And he's going to get even more talent than this.
Oh, my God.
All the coaches, I think The Athletic did a story where they asked like every coach, and they were all like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And I think it was, I forget who did the story. It might have been Stuart Mandel or something, but he tweeted something, he got a text. He's like, the coach said, I was wrong. Like, they know. They're like, okay. And I get it. I was in the same boat. I'm just like, I thought he would be good. I thought he'd be a really good coach. I just thought it would take a little while. Nope. He's doing it right away. I feel like this is now, I would have to revise my preseason thing to be, this is going to be like a 6-6 type of team. I do think the depth and stuff over time, it's going to be hard to do, but not counting anything out he could do. Could he make a run? And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is impossible. He can do it. What he did on that was insane and very impressive. It's going to be fun to see what happens this coming week, when they're playing at home and all that stuff. But, man, just great for college football, a lot of fun. Loved all of it.
And I just want to add one thing about Deion because I'd never seen him coach a game before. I admittedly never watched Jackson State. It was not at all what I expected. Like, the amount – so, first, team was super disciplined. I guess – I was thinking, okay, he's a recruiting guy. He's a guy who's going to recruit the hell out of the job and hire some good guys. But it's, there'll be that kind of, it's just a bunch of talented guys going out there, roll the ball out, that sort of thing. Not that at all. Really well schemed, really smartly schemed on both sides of the ball. Like, okay, what you said about the quarterback, think about this. Shedeur Sanders, I don't think had a designed run in this game. They're not going to run him. They're just going to throw him.
No, you can't.
Yeah, because they don't have any depth. But that's really good coaching.
Yeah.
And then the amount of hugs on the sideline, ass slapping on the sideline, a lot of really encouraging coaching. And then even after the game, yeah, he did the kind of you believe in stuff, but turned the spotlight almost immediately to his players. Put it on Travis Hunter, put it on Shedeur Sanders, and I think. There's this idea of Deion Sanders, and then I think there's this reality of him. And I don't like the very specifically when he was forcing a bunch of guys out that there were reports he didn't even know the kid's name, that sort of thing. I didn't like that. But everything else I'm seeing is this guy's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I think he's a transformative figure for college football in probably some very good ways. Because if you're going to recreate a roster and you're going to be this kind of coach, I mean, that is a model. But I don't know that many people can do it the way he does. And again, we're talking about one of the best football players of all time. I mean, the football IQ is really, really strong. And to be that kind of guy and then hire who he's hired and run the schemes he's running, I don't know. I mean, I think the sky is actually the limit for Deion Sanders at Colorado, especially the way he can recruit. I mean, it's if I'm a subscriber to Buff Stampede, hey, you out there, if you're listening to this and you are a Colorado fan, UCLA fan, USC fan, but any fan of a Pac-12 team, sign up right now because through tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific, you can get 50% off an annual subscription to your 247 site of choice. So that's, again, $53, I think, for the entire year. So if you're getting excited about your Pac-12 team, which you should,
yes,
you should subscribe to your site. So many great people doing great work. I want to shout out Adam Munster-Tiger because he has been through the wilderness of some terrible Colorado teams.
Holy
and I
cow.
think he is right now on the precipice of Colorado getting back to greatness here pretty quick.
And I think it's one of those things where, did you like the way he ran off some of the players, or do I like that he like called out like a reporter in the press conference, and it's not the reporter's job to like believe in you, whatever. But it's a thing. It's like you have this chef that's going to make an amazing Michelin star dinner, and there's a reason. It comes together for a reason, and there's a lot of decisions that go into that, and you can go in and nitpick. I don't like that. I don't like that. But if you're telling that chef to do something differently, like the whole meal isn't going to be as good. Like I had people complaining about Lincoln Riley. Oh, they should get under center more and stuff. I'm like, why are you, Nick? Like maybe you should, but he's painting this big picture. He has his own vision. Deion has his own vision. You can't like nitpick little parts of it. If the resulting, the product that he's giving you is amazing, anyone that's good at their job, like there's going to be things along the way. You're like, you could nitpick little decisions, but it's not going to make the whole thing better. Yeah. And we do have this comment from Northeast Ohio Boise State fan. Let's hold off on the whole praising Deion. If TCU finishes 6-6,
doesn't matter.
So 100% doesn't matter.
Does not matter. If you watch the team, if you actually watch the game, you know what you saw.
Yeah.
And this
TCU might not be that good, but this is still really impressive.
Compared to what you just saw last year.
They were the worst team ever.
It's an entirely different sport they're playing. Like I don't want to go too hard on this because we've got 5 more teams to go through and then we got to get the hell out of here. But Colorado, what they're doing is obvious and translatable beyond just the simple opponent they're playing. If you fly around and gang tackle the way they're gang tackling, if you have a quarterback who is accurate the way Shedeur Sanders is accurate, if you have a receiving core that's that talented. We didn't even talk about Jimmy Horn, who was awesome in this game, but Travis Hunter, really good. If you've got these pieces, it really doesn't matter. Like, you're going to win games. Yeah. And maybe it's 6 this year, but also maybe it's 9. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Like, I really don't know. And maybe for that purpose, it depends how good TCU is. If TCU is 8-4, then yeah, I could talk myself into 9. If they are 6-6, maybe it's more like 6. But whatever the thing is, this team has a pulse. Anybody watching can tell it has a pulse. And those people watching, a lot of them are 5-star recruits around the country because Deion has already gotten his foot in the door with a lot of those recruits. Yeah. It's what they have going is one of the best things in college football.
I don't think the Big 12 is going to like it.
No, I don't think so at all.
All right, number 5.
Utah Utes.
Yeah, boring old Utah. In the Thursday game, with a pig farmer at quarterback, beat Florida 24-11. I think they're victims of the game being early in the week. I think they're victims of the fact that it was kind of ho-hum and that they just kind of parked the bus after, 2.5 quarters, basically.
And Florida's kind of ass.
And Florida's super assy, and Graham Mertz is a terrible quarterback. But this was Utah, the line dropped from like Utah -9 to like Utah -4 at basically kickoff.
What did we get this one at?
I don't know what we had it at.
We had it at 4.5.
Yeah. When it basically got out that Cam Rising was not going to play.
Because we picked it on Thursday, so we had come down. We both took Utah, obviously.
Yeah, but this was 24.
We both took Colorado in the last one. Yeah, like -20.5.
This was 24-3 entering the final quarter. I mean, it finished 24-11.
Yeah.
But Florida was never in any danger of winning this game.
No.
Utah controlled it. I thought defensively, again, kind of the story of the season, 21 carries for 13 yards for Florida. Could not run the ball.
No.
Utah was down a ton of guys, down their best defensive linemen, down just Cam Rising.
Cam Rising didn't play.
Just so many guys out, and they still completely controlled this game from basically just kickoff to the final whistle. Bryson Barnes was fine. Nate Johnson came in and had an explosive run for a touchdown.
He looked fun.
I can see why he's not starting. I can see why he's not playing the quarterback reps because he's still pretty inaccurate. And I think some of the stuff with, understand what they're doing offensively is maybe still a little bit, down the road for him. But that's a lot of upside there. And when he was out there running past Florida DBs, when was the last time you saw a Utah player running past SEC speed? That was something to see. And Bryson Barnes was fine. Hit that big throw early and then just kind of managed the game after that. But I thought he was fine. But look, Utah didn't run the ball very well. Jaquindon Jackson really got nothing going. But I don't have too many complaints about their performance. Again, we don't know how good Florida is. I have a feeling they're going to be kind of bad this year.
They look kind of bad,
but to do that with so many guys down, I don't think you knock Utah too hard down. They're still 5th, and we had them preseason, like 3rd?
3rd or 4th, I think.
So we did knock them down a little bit, but that's more a product of other teams being really good. I think it's sort of to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. So we're not going to knock them pretty much any further than that until they start looking bad.
No, it's just they looked very competent. It was a very Utah game to have. Like, if you just gave a list of, like, what would the line have been if everyone knew all the players that were out? Like, it would have been even closer, And Utah it didn't matter that you had star players or guys playing key roles, not playing. It's like, okay, we just do our thing. You got our system and move forward with it. So really impressive. We'll talk about when they go, like Baylor already lost. Another team that I thought might have a few extra losses there because the schedule's really tough, but the way they looked in week 1, you're not going to count this U team out. Like, they could easily go 3-peat, and win the conference again. So,
and with how assy Baylor looked on Saturday, getting through non-conference 3-0 is not looking like it's going to be the chore we thought it might be.
No, we thought it'd be tough.
Yeah.
You already beat Florida.
And if they get through 3-0 and then say get Cam Rising back for UCLA,
and they can make a run.
You can start talking about Utah as, okay, maybe a potential playoff team again.
So, Utes, never count them out, obviously, but there was a big win. That started like the Pac-12 off with the weekend really great, because this was not, if you watch any of this game, you weren't like, wow, well, Florida, if they just, that one play back, no, there wasn't anything like that. It was like they were not going to win this game. Next up, we got number 4.
Oregon Ducks.
Didn't watch a snap of this game. I'm not going to talk about it. 81-7. Oregon beat Portland State. That's disgusting. They barely missed a pass. Bo Nix was 23 of 27 for 3 touchdowns, well over 10 yards per attempt. Bucky Irving, who's on my college fantasy team, 4 carries for 119 yards. He averaged almost 30 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. Jordan James also good in a backup role. Literally don't have another word.
You did what you're supposed to do against an overmatched team. I was watching.
Just continued to beat the shit out of them the entire game.
I was watching, so it would be on the press box a little bit, so you would just kind of look up. I got to see a lot of scores because if you looked up, you're probably going to see a score. But yeah, not much to say about this. It's positive. Like you saw, Kenny Dillingham wasn't there anymore. Is the offense going to be good? You can't say it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
You're not going to say it's bad after this.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Whether it's going to be great is anyone's guess still, because Portland State dog shit, and they scored 81 on them. That's really good. Now can we see it against a real team?
Brian Small says that they pulled the starters after 74 points. I don't know. I'm not sure that was the thing there. Okay, we got our number 3 team.
Washington Huskies.
Given the quality of the opponent, this might have been the actual best win of the early Pac-12 season.
We dropped them from 1 to 3 for beating a good team by a lot.
And so this is the reason. So first, super impressive.
I just went with David's picks.
First, super impressive win. They looked really good. Michael Penix, 5 touchdowns. Slow start to the game. Looked a little bit John Donovan-y on offense in the first quarter. And then absolutely blew him away from that point on. It's so funny because, we got so used to watching boring Washington's offense for the last, before last year, like the previous 3 or 4 seasons, where I'm conditioned to I got to watch Washington. And then I'm watching them and I'm like, wait, this is exciting and fun again. This is actually really cool. Michael Penix throwing vertically. This is awesome. They've got a lot of weapons offensively. Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, probably the best of the lot. But there's so many guys who are really, really good in that receiving core. And you've got Penix throwing the ball. And defensively, I thought they were great. I think this was not a shutdown rush defense, but also Boise State, I think, is one of the better opponents that anybody played this weekend. So I think they're actually pretty good, and they held this close for a while until kind of Washington exploded on them. The reason I don't have Washington higher is that they really don't have a running game, and I'm not sure they're going to have one this year with, I think it's Cam Davis, who got hurt preseason. And that's the point where I'm not ready to go whole hog on them until they can show me that they can run the ball relatively consistently, because I think teams will start to adjust to the idea that it's just going to be, Phoenix raining balls on them.
Yeah, but you don't want to take away from this win. Like I don't know how great Boise State's going to be, but this is one of those. This is a team people thought there could be an upset, right? Like, oh, maybe Boise's going to be good here, and Washington had zero trouble with them. And I think I
won't say zero. Early on in this game, it was competitive. It was basically once the offense got in a rhythm throwing the ball, it was over. But it took a while.
I think sometimes you see prolific offenses do that though, and then they stretch their legs, and it's just like, okay, now you're just running away. But I wanted to see the teams that we have as the ranked teams, the upper echelon team, basically the top 5 or 6 in the conference, really just sort of take care of business. And I think that's what we saw Washington do here. I don't know without a run game, or if the run game, like if you're going to be able to win all of these. But I think they can win a lot. I mean, I think Penix is number 2 in the Heisman poll or whatever right now. Just he's going to put up a crap ton of yards and points and touchdowns and all of that. But this is, we've seen years where you have a team that like you think are going to be really good, and then they stumble in one of these games, and there was no stumble here. So impressed with what Washington's doing, and that's what we want to see. Like 5-6 weeks from now, you want to see these teams be undefeated, and then starting getting into the meaty part of the schedules, and they start playing each other, and it means a lot more. So the only way that happens, though, is if you win all these games. And for the first time since we've been doing this, the Pac-12's actually do it. We've had some big wins, like UCLA beating LSU or Oregon beating Ohio State on the road, but then all the other stuff would fall apart. So far, we haven't seen that. And this is just one of those games where it's like, hey, it's a team that everyone knows. Like Boise State has beat big teams before, and you just boat raced them. So that's good.
Yep.
All right. Our number 2 team,
USC Trojans.
I watched an uncomfortable amount of this game. Really shouldn't have. USC won 66-14. I think I was always just waiting for it to get late enough that I could start to think about the -38 that I was trying for. And then USC put it away emphatically at the end to win 66-14. Yeah, that's winning by 52 points. Okay, I need to. So the Alex Grinch jokes are funny. Yeah. I like them. I'm going to continue to make them.
You should.
I'm going to have a moment of zen right now and tell you this USC defense is substantially better than it was last year. Defensive front is really good. Bear Alexander is a different kind of player, not one that they've had the last couple years. So they demolished Nevada. This was uncomfortable to watch. Brendan Lewis, former Colorado quarterback, looked about how he looked at Colorado. I mean, he certainly connected. I mean, he threw for 182 yards. So that's a lot better than he looked at Colorado. But he was still making some really terrible decisions. But USC was forcing a lot of that.
He started his first drive. He threw a beautiful pass down the left sideline for a touchdown.
The only good throw he threw all day.
It was gorgeous.
It was a gorgeous throw. The only good one he had all day. And then it was just a lot of racing straight back, taking bad sacks, and just, poor throws, bad decisions, yada, 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 so on and so forth. USC, Caleb Williams was doing Caleb Williams things, but like that kind of, it kind of undersells it. Like he had some scrambles in this one. There was the kind of that he threw to Brendan Rice for the touchdown where he ran around for like literally 10 seconds with like 7 different free rushers coming at him. And he just, like the eyes into the back of his head or whatever it is, the feel for an oncoming rusher is just insane. It's utterly, completely insane. It's not good to watch. I don't want to see it anymore. I wish he would have just gone to the NFL, challenged the rule. Like, who was that? Maurice Claret? Yeah.
Oh, he did.
I think, challenge the rule and get out of here, man. I don't want to see this anymore. He's really impressive to watch. And then, running the ball, I think Marshawn Lloyd's been great. Really like him. You shouted him out, but Quentin Joyner, that's future pretty bright there. And then, like, just showing kind of what the receiving core has in terms of how stacked it is. Dorian Singer was like the 7th leading receiver on this team. Taj Washington, guy we never talk about, really, and he's really good.
He's very underappreciated.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Deuce Robinson came in late. 71-yard touchdown. Mario Williams, really good. Brendan Rice, really good. Brendan Rice famously was like Colorado's best player like 3 years ago. He's like 5th on this depth chart. It's just stupid. Like we talked about Zachariah Branch. He had like one play at the beginning of this game. He's a freak. He's going to be an all-world guy by his junior year, and he can barely play in this friggin' system because they have too many weapons. Anyway, it's disgusting. They beat Nevada by 52. USC's really good. I'm happy about it.
Nevada's not. Yeah, you love it. Nevada's not good. I think they're better than they were last year, but they just weren't very good. USC's 2 top linebackers, Mason Cobb and Eric Gentry, were late scratches. We didn't know that they weren't going to play. They didn't play, but it didn't really matter. They were just overmatched. But I think this is what I thought the defense would be better is just because there was a lot better players out there, and they're probably still going to give up some weird, bad plays. But I think their offense is so good, you just need to get a stop or two.
You just need to not be terrible, and I think they are sufficiently not terrible. Like,
yeah.
I think they're going to be top 50, and that's all you need to be. Like,
if they can get there, then they can win the conference by doing that.
You'll be the number 1 offense in college football again. I don't think there's any question about it.
Yeah.
You will be the number 1 offense in college football. So your defense just needs to be good enough to get some stops. Like just And like in a game like this, you stopped them most of the time. In a Pac-12 competitive game, stop them half the time. If you do that, you're going to outscore them by 20 points because nobody's going to stop this offense.
Yeah, no, I think that's what you kind of want to see. Caleb Williams is ridiculous. Like he had that one where he's just running around, and then weaving in and out, and then just throws an absolute like back foot flick of the wrist, throws a bullet to Brendan Rice in the end zone for a touchdown. You're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
His pass to Dorian Singer, he was running. It looked like he's going to throw it out of bounds. Throws it down the sideline. Singer makes a one-handed catch. They're just spreading the ball around. And they use 3 different offensive line combinations the first 3 drives. So I think they're still trying to figure things out. They rotated on defense, but they couldn't do the linebackers. Taka Curtis took a guy's helmet off and got ejected for this one, so they didn't have as many inside linebackers. I would just say, they look competent. We'll see how they're going forward, but it's kind of where you want them to be. I think they're going to be better on defense, but maybe not. It's still Alex Grinch is still the defensive coordinator, but just the personnel is better, and the offense is really freaking good. So we'll see, but it's Nevada. So
yeah.
All right, our number 1 team, and we got someone in the chat very excited about this.
Oregon State Beavers.
All right, yeah, as you can see, these are my rankings from Twitter yesterday, but Oregon State beat San Jose State 42-17. The reason I have them number 1 is watching all of the games this week, and I think underlying thing is I think Oregon State has the best combination of offensive line and defense in the league this year. Watching this game, just opening up running lane after running lane against San Jose State, and then protecting DJU. I think he was sacked maybe once, but I didn't think it was even necessarily an offensive line breakdown. And this was a game they completely controlled. They allowed 14 points in the fourth quarter, but this was 28-3 going into the fourth. And maybe DJU's best game since he took over for Trevor Lawrence in that first time he ever played college football.
Right.
20 for 25 for 3 touchdowns, 240 yards. And like he had some throws in this one where you're like, wow, he threw that basically flat-footed into the end zone. That's something else. If that reclamation project is actually a success, I was a little skeptical. Like even knowing how good Jonathan Smith has been with quarterbacks, I was a little skeptical that would be. But if that is actually going to happen, yeah, my estimation for Oregon State is going to be dead wrong because I had them at 8-4. But watching that team, it's hard to imagine that. Damian Martinez was excellent again. Defensively, though, we already had data on San Jose State. And again, what I just said, I'm not going to go back on it right now. USC's defense has improved, and Cordero looked good against USC.
He was very athletic. He did a good...
In this game, he averaged 4.5 yards an attempt.
Yeah.
Couldn't get anything going in the passing game, and he didn't really get free running the ball. Like, he had one good run, and that was it. This was a really, really good defensive performance against an offense that we saw actually really did have a pulse against USC. Again, the first-string offense for San Jose State basically only had 3 points. So this was, kind of sneaky because it came in on the Sunday. People were probably just still hung over from Saturday, so they weren't really necessarily watching this one. Sneaky, one of the best performances of the weekend, just in terms of both sides of the ball, looking completely ready for the season and fully geared up. I was kind of like, zigging when people were zagging when it came to picking Oregon State as like a Pac-12 title contender and that whole thing.
I had him pretty high.
I think you had 9-3 or 8-4, something like that.
Yeah,
but no, legitimately they are. And yeah, the league
I had
is
him
tough.
10-2.
Yeah, the league is tough. We'll see what they do, but it's a very, very impressive start to the season for them.
So Trent Bray came in last year, pretty much the same players, and made the defense like significantly better. And so I know they lost some pieces from last year. I just felt like he was going to keep the defense rolling, and they did. They look better. This is one of those situations where San Jose State played a week 0 game, and sometimes that helps you. I feel like this sort of hurt them because they put on tape. If Oregon State didn't get to see what Shedeur Cordero was doing and how effective he was, I felt like they did a really good job of containing him. Maybe they would have done this anyway. I think even the announcers commented on it that they were like not really trying to get to him. They were just staying in their rush lanes and sort of not letting him get by. USC was like really trying to try out their pass rush and going after him. And then he would run by, as they went by, he would run away from him. And I think Oregon State did a much better job. But I don't think it helped San Jose State that they had a game on tape that Oregon State got to watch, and then they could kind of figure out, hey, well, this is what we're going to do.
I'll throw a major caveat out there because USC could have done the same thing if they'd ever watched a single Hawaii game that Cordero played.
True.
I don't think they watched a single game.
He was there the year before, too, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they watched a single game of this guy before they played.
Maybe they did not.
Yeah.
But Oregon State, scouted, used the week 0 game, scouted well. And obviously, Damon Martinez is going to, get his, they got 2 running backs that can hurt you. DJ is, he got, I think, had 2 rushing touchdowns in this one. They actually got stopped a couple times at the goal line, and they just lined him up at the shotgun or the pistol and just like waltzed in. Looked very comfortable. And when they were saying there was like a contract, who was going to come in, who was going to win the job, and it's like, if he doesn't win it, there's a problem.
Well, and if you've got legit. A 6'4", 252-pound quarterback, run his ass on the goal line.
It's good stuff. So I think that's I have no problem having Oregon State first.
And a second shout-out. Adam Munstertiger's been through the wilderness. So has Angie Machado.
She has.
Best coverage you're going to get on Oregon State. If you are an Oregon State fan, go sign up for Beaver Blitz right now. You've got a little over 24 hours if you're listening to this right now, if you're watching this right now. To sign up, 50% off.
And we have a comment, Dave, and this was your kind of harping on thing. Beavs only gave up 56 yards rushing.
Yeah, I forgot to shout that out. But one of those was a quarterback run, which are fake and bullshit. This was really impressive defensive performance from Oregon State.
And Dave said they played Cordero a few years ago, so they've seen him before. So maybe that, but different. Trent Bray, I think, has been as far as like. When they promoted him last year.
Yeah, they fired the one guy and then brought him up. It was 2 years ago. They promoted him mid-season, I thought, and then he took over fully last year for the full year.
Is that what it is? But
I think so.
He's just been great.
He's been awesome, and it was immediate. Like, if you remember, when he took over, it was immediate.
Yeah.
With basically the exact same players, suddenly they're a lot better.
But the people that were saying that Oregon State's going to drop off, I think a lot of it was because the guys they've lost, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But to me, it was just going to be more about the coaching was a lot better. And it looks like it is. It's fundamentally sound. You have good game plans. I feel after this game, like, obviously don't feel good about my Colorado, season pick or Stanford or Cal, but I feel much better about this, Oregon State being good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and do some questions.
We're going to do like 2 questions because I got to get the hell out of here.
You got to get out of here? Okay, hold on. There was, let me see. There was, we got a text message from Seoul Cal. Yes, I'm a South Korean bear. Can I say on behalf of all Cal Bears that Ryan can suck it? Cal won. Do we look terrible? Debatable. Does our defense need work? Yep. Is our passing game mediocre? Yep. But Ott will be the best back in the conference. Our ground game will keep games close, and we'll probably end up 5-7, maybe 6-6. But we won't be the worst. We'll end up mid Pac-12 in conference power rankings. The sad part is that Ryan will give some response like, hooray, Cal, won against the crappy North Texas team, blah, 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 and not give Cal any credit as usual. David, you can attest to this. That's probably the most annoying thing about your show. Just give the Bears credit where it's due. Go Bears. Soul Cal, I picked you to win this game preseason. I picked you to cover the spread. Not just win, but cover the spread.
Didn't you pick Cal to go like 2-10, though?
I picked them to win this game.
Uh-huh.
So why are you like... I picked them to win this game. I picked them to cover the spread. David said North Texas would not only cover, they would win. So maybe, why are you mad at me and not him? I don't understand.
Maybe, a shocking number of people do not differentiate between us, and they will hear you and say me.
But then he was like siding with you. Like, David, you could tell him.
Yeah,
David,
maybe he thinks you're David.
David.
You are Ryan David Abraham.
If you're, that is my middle name. Yeah. I picked you to win.
Okay.
And I think you guys look better. And it's not because North Texas sucks.
All right, I'll read Frank's. Quick turnaround. Do you think we can forget about the next 2, the need to build the culture before you get a winning program in college football? Deion Sanders proved this year, and Lincoln Riley showed last year that if you get the right coaches and you get the right players, you can build a much better program quickly. Frank in Sacramento. Yeah, this is a super dumb thing, but you can call it out in real time. Chip Kelly didn't need to do this at UCLA. He didn't need to blow things up and just take like 4-year zeros in a row. You can be good immediately if you install the right things, you recruit the right players. You can build that energy immediately in recruiting, as lots of coaches have done historically. It's completely stupid. This idea that like there's a 3 or 4 year time horizon for building a program. No, there isn't. That's just eating years. That look, we all have finite time on Earth, and it's like, what's the payoff? Like, always think about that. Like, what's the payoff of like spending all this time doing this crap? And for Chip Kelly so far at UCLA, and I don't mean to make this about Chip Kelly, but he's the most obvious example right now for a program build. The payoff has been a 9-3 season in year 5. Deion might go 9-3 this year at Colorado. Lincoln Riley went, what'd they do? 11-2 last year?
11-3, yeah.
11-3.
From 4-8.
Yeah, from 4-8. Like
Washington went from 4-8 to 11-2.
UCLA went 3-9 that first year, and then 4-8 the next year. Like, it's just, there's an obvious way to do this. I mean, I was going mad trying to explain this to UCLA people those first 2 years. We're like, look, we're past it now, so there's no point in like going and rehashing the past. I mean, the program's in much better shape, but it didn't need to be like that. It could have been much more immediate. I don't look at like Colorado's culture as bad. They looked super energized, super supportive of each other. It looked really great. It's not a bad culture. USC doesn't seem to have a bad culture. They seem like they're really, energized team game, the whole thing. So
Washington,
I don't get that. I think it's just a lot of like coach defense, like reflexive coach defense stuff. But no, it doesn't need to be like this.
And I agree with you there. Real quick, West Texas Mike sent a video of Dabo Swinney when they won the championship at the Rose Bowl, and he was giving his thing about I'm somewhere in, I don't know where in California or whatever. And it was kind of funny that now you're going to be having California schools in the league with them. So I just wanted to like pass that along. And then last one, UCLA taking a knee. Interested in the history and opinion of Chip ignoring the point spread. I was conflicted because I had the over, but on the other hand, had admired him for making a football decision rather than a bookie cookie. Then I remembered or invented memories of his days as a Duck and running up the score. Of note, the best coach in the Pac-12 did the same thing in the Beavs, road warrior whooping up on San Jose State, but thankfully the Spartans got the last-second garbage time points necessary for the over. That was from Hovel Downs.
I don't know. I mean, going back to his Oregon days, I think they were always trying to fine-tune their tempo. So I don't even know how much of it was about, quote, running it up as much as we're going to continue to run our offense because we want to get this thing like a completely well-oiled machine because that was the basis on which the entire program rested. Chip doesn't do tempo nearly as much at UCLA as he used to, and so I think there's less of an emphasis on that. And so, they get to their, comfortable margin territory, and they're still running the same offense in the fourth quarter, and now they're just running it more. I think when you're running a tempo offense, just like slowing it down, it's just kind of antithetical to what you're doing. So I think it was more a function of what kind of offensive system they had than it was a desire to run it up.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. Well, I know you got to get out of here. Thanks, everyone, for doing our early Labor Day weekend show. We did all the recap and stuff, and then if you have more questions, you can send them in. Please leave us a review. Smash the like button on the YouTube channel, and we'll do a preview show for week 2. Should be a lot of fun. Sometime later in the week, probably on Thursday. We'll tweet it out and let you guys know, or X it out, or whatever it's called. For David Woods, I'm Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye.